And we're live. Thank you guys for coming on to the chat. I don't know if Tammy can see the chat. You've got some people already
That is a really good question.
here.
Think I can.
You may not be able to
No,
on
I
StreamYard.
can't.
Well, you've got Tara Allen and Courtney Rasnick are both
Hi,
here.
Tara.
I know I hear you shout them out on your channel sometimes. So
I
yeah.
do.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys all for tuning in. I'm really excited about talking with my guest today, Tammy, who's over. I linked her in the information section if you want to go on over, subscribe to her channel if you're not already. I found her, gosh, I want to say it was like right when you were starting your cut. And so I followed
The
you.
last summer.
Yeah, a little bit before last summer, you were starting your cut, and then I've been watching your whole reverse dieting. It's like every week, I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen this week? And Tammy and I do we do things 100% different. Like we're totally different dietary wise and just everything we do. But I just really like her. Like she has 9 children. She's lost 207 pounds and using keto, and I feel like just bringing other people on that do things differently than you is so important. And I feel like you have just watching your videos for what feels like the last year almost, I've just picked up a lot. And I'm like, just because we do things differently, I feel like people in my audience can just really learn from what you've done and the experience you've had. So thank you for putting all your stuff out there.
Carnivore can really fit with what I teach too. So just because I don't personally do it doesn't mean that it isn't beneficial or that it can't help you lose weight. I'm all about weight loss. And so definitely carnivore has a place in what I teach too. So I think we can learn a lot from each other. And it was funny because I didn't even know who you were until you sent me a present. You were like the third person to send me a gift off my Amazon wish list. And I was like, who is Sarah? And I hadn't never heard of you. And so I'm so glad that you reached out to me that way. So I knew that you were following me and that we could like meet and become friends. It's great.
Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah, I just really loved watching your videos and see your channel has been growing a lot lately and you've just had a lot of great stuff going on. And I know that can be terrifying and also fun at the same time. I've been
Yes, you understand. You understand.
Oh, yeah. I understand.
Is absolutely terrifying. Yes.
All the comments, like I have to go through days where I delete my YouTube Studio app. I'm like, I can't look at this today because it's just, yeah, it's like having a bomb in your phone. Possibly, it could be great, and then it could be like explosion and just kind of like ruin your whole day. And that's like the scary side effect of having your channel grow. Is yeah.
Yeah, because you get a lot of people that don't know you and they don't really care about you. A lot of my followers have been here forever and, really respect me as a human. And so when I do things that maybe they don't agree with or whatever, or maybe they think are strange, they don't always say something. Whereas someone just coming into one random video that went viral, they're just going to be like judging you and saying whatever they want because they don't care who you are. And so that's the hard part about your channel growth. But I just keep telling myself, you know what, even though it's hard, more people are finding me and more people are losing weight because of that. And I just have to focus on that.
Yeah. And your consistency, I mean, when you talk about on your channel, we'll jump into this in a minute, but when you talk about not being consistent and not liking data and all that stuff, it's inspirational because you have, I mean, just the time I've watched you, you've been so consistent. And so I'm like, how the heck does she stay this consistent with herself and literally have 9 children? It's been a pandemic. And I'm like, this is something that people in my audience, like I said, even though we do things differently, they can really benefit from just having that energy in their life. I think it's so inspirational.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And speaking about that, let's talk a little bit about your weight loss journey. I know that you have lost 207 pounds. And so tell me a little bit about how it was like before you started your journey and what made you actually get to where you could do this, where you could actually lose the weight.
It was really rough. I had actually lost some weight about, 6 years before that. I had lost 110 pounds, was kind of cocky about it. And it was on like a shake diet and I had a coach. And I was like, oh, this is so easy. Everybody should do this. I don't know why I didn't do it sooner. And I was really kind of rude about it. Lost some friends because I was a little bit cocky. And I think that God just really needed to give me a good smackdown, because apparently I didn't learn the first time what I was supposed to be doing. I was supposed to help people, not be rude.
Yeah.
And I ended up, I had a miscarriage and two more babies, actually two miscarriages and two more babies.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of just gave up. Once I lost my coach and the shake diet, I didn't really know how to lose weight because they never really taught me. And I thought I was broken, and I just kept gaining. I couldn't stop. It felt like a freight train was just overtaking me, and I ended up gaining back all the 110 that I lost plus 40 more. It was my first yo-yo diet. I had never really experienced dieting at all because like I said, I have 9 kids, and I was like pregnant and or breastfeeding for 22 years straight.
Wow.
So I was thinking about other people, not me, right? I was just like eating what I needed to do to feed babies and thinking about the kids and not thinking about me. And then that whole thing happened, and it was horrible, like absolutely horrible. After my 9th baby was born, I almost died from pleurisy. And I was well over 400 pounds. I had to have been. Nobody took a picture or weighed me. But when I went into the hospital, I was so swollen with fluid that I literally looked like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I wrapped my hands around my boobs. They were so huge. And I'm still flirting with the doctors, making jokes about my weight like I always did in order to deflect. But inside I was literally dying. And about a year later is when I literally felt like so depressed and my first year with that baby was so hard. He could sense that I was depressed, and he was fussy, and it was just rough. It was just a bad, bad year. And I was on the verge of I was afraid the kids would find me, that I had died in the bathtub and they wouldn't be able to get my dead body out. I mean, I had horrible nightmares of dying. Now, nothing was physically wrong with me, but my blood pressure and I had some gut issues. Like I really digested terribly, probably because I'm allergic to wheat. One thing that I have discovered because of keto. And I was doing a last stitch. Is it stitch or ditch? Stitch. I think so.
I've never known that.
I haven't thought about that. I think it's a stitch effort, last stitch. I don't know. And I decided to try just like vegetables and lean meats and go on this drastic diet. And someone asked me what I was doing, and I told her, and they were like, "Oh, you're doing keto." And that was all it took. I had never heard of it. Shocking, because I was never really in the diet world. I was not really trying to lose weight because I thought I was just broken and was not able to. Now we know that's not true. And that started my whole crazy journey. And yes, I did lose all 207 on keto, even though technically I am not in ketosis at the moment. Yes. But I did lose all my weight with the keto way of eating.
How did you keep going? I mean, how long did it take you, and what kept you going in the journey? Because I know it's hard to have that amount of weight to lose.
Yeah, just taking it one step at a time, one day at a time, tracking very carefully what I was eating, so I knew that what I was getting was the right amounts, and just focusing on what is right in front of me. Because anytime I would think about how much weight I had to lose and how long it was going to take, it was overwhelming. I used to fantasize about what size I might be in a certain amount of time. And I remember thinking that a size large 10, 12 was this far away dream that could never, ever happen. And now I'm wearing a size 6, size 8, 6 and 8, depending on the clothes. Wow. It literally is crazy. It's crazy. How long did it take? I've taken many diet breaks. During the first year, I lost 138. Wow. After that, I just kind of took it slower. So I think all in all, it took 33 months start to finish to get to 207. And now I'm just trying to figure out maintenance. I'm planning on doing some loose skin surgery. It looks like I'm going to do it this summer.
Oh, wow.
In July, I think. So I'm kind of really scared about that. I've never had any surgery in my entire life. I've never, ever had anesthesia of any kind.
Wow.
No C-sections or anything.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that scares me a little bit. You can tell I'm getting a little nervous just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's just the next logical step in the journey for me. Yeah. Because I do have a lot of skin. Not as much as some people do after 200-pound loss, but still quite a bit. And I want to be a dancer. I never got a chance to when I was young.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw your video, the autophagy failed. I love that.
My clickbait title.
Exactly. Which people don't understand. You kind of have to do that on YouTube a little bit, or people just won't watch your videos. You might have awesome content, but if you don't like clickbait a little bit, people are just not going to watch. And so, I
Well,
know.
and it's technically not clickbait because I explained in the video why I believe autophagy was not for me and why I don't intend to starve myself in order to attain it.
Yeah.
And that was the point of the video. The point wasn't that autophagy itself isn't a real thing, or that, and people were like, well, you didn't do it right.
Of
Yeah. Okay.
course, of course. And that's the other
Rolling my
fun
eyes.
thing about YouTube is like if you put up an opinion, everybody's like, well, here's what you did wrong. And you're like,
Yeah.
you weren't there. Like you were not there for the 2+ years that I was doing this, every meal doing what I was doing. So you don't know.
Well, and some people were. And
Right.
those who were understand.
And they're
And
not going to
those who
make
were not,
comments
do
like
not.
that. Exactly. Exactly. So you have so much documentation on your channel of just like what you were eating to lose that weight, which I think is really helpful for people. People are just like, there's so much information now. And this is the other reason I wanted to bring you on, that I feel like people get really confused about how to lose weight, especially when they have a lot to lose and they do this whole paralysis by analysis thing. So talk to
Yeah, you
us a
got to
little
keep
bit.
it simple.
How
Gotta
did
keep it
you
simple.
overcome that, with your journey, just keeping
I
it
was
simple?
really
And
blessed. The group, the Facebook group that my friend added me to, had a very strict protocol. It was easy to follow. I was able to learn it really easily. Tracking macros, I had never done that, and for some reason, it came pretty naturally. I know how to use my cell phone apps, and like, I'm 46, but I am not super old yet. I kind of get that stuff, but I also understand people that don't. And so keeping it simple is really, really important. People are always asking me for recipes, and I'm like, I don't do recipes. It's
yeah.
like meat, cheese, veggies, and maybe some canned sauce, like Bertolli Alfredo or Lucini marinara. There you go. Boom. That's what I eat. Bacon, eggs, yogurt, meal.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I try to keep the ingredients really separate, easy to track. I don't do a lot of recipes or crazy stuff unless it's a special occasion. Then I'll go on like Keto Connect and like get a recipe for a dessert or something
Yeah.
like that and try something new. But most of the time, keep it simple. It's the only way to survive.
Yeah. So I know you did macro tracking, but did you test blood sugar, ketones, all that stuff throughout? Because I know
No,
yeah. Talk about that a little bit.
I literally did not test at all, ever. In fact, I think the first time I tested was when I went to Walt Disney World with Princess Ninja and Keto, and I met up with her and Karen Rothwell, who is one of my moderators on my board, for a fun little girls getaway. And they had a ketone meter, and they tested me, and I was like 0.2 ketones. I got a meter since then, and I've tested, and the highest I ever saw, I think, was like 1.
Yeah.
0.7 was like really high for me. Most of the time, I would test 0.2 almost always straight across the board. The group that I joined just was kind of like, don't chase ketones, and they just taught us not to test. I literally knew nothing when I started, and so I followed their advice, and that's what I kind of still do. I just don't bother testing. But
Yeah.
I was never diabetic. If I had type 2 diabetes, obviously I would have been worried about my blood sugars and things like that. But for me, I don't believe any of my problem was ever insulin resistance or any of these other things that people are facing. I really think it was just an overeating problem and not knowing, how to control my portions and feeling starving all the time because I was
Mm.
just like shoveling carbs in and not understanding why I was still hungry and eating what's available, like donuts, because they were sitting there, and my husband loved me and he would go buy them every day. I had
Yeah.
a good enabler.
Yeah. I've heard you talk a lot about all the donuts and things that you used to eat before
I
keto.
still don't know how we afforded that. How did we afford that? Like, every night he would go to the gas station and buy me all the snacks I want every single day.
Wow.
I still don't know how we afforded that.
So how did you overcome I guess the cravings and like that sugar addiction and really get on track with keto and really get on track with losing some weight?
For the first 8 months, I did it really clean. So literally just meat, vegetables, cheese, yogurt. I didn't even use Mio back then. I used
Mm.
only stevia. I did drink diet soda because I just really felt like it helped me to be able to go longer without eating. I did intermittent fasting. 2 meals a day, and really low calories, very, very, very low calories. But my food was really clean. And so it was pretty easy to do, especially being so overweight. My body just tapped into its fat stores and it was happy, 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 happy. So for 8 months, I didn't have any sweeteners or desserts or bars or anything, literally nothing. None of the stuff I eat now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I could have done it with the bars and all those things if I'd know how to use them correctly, but it's taken a lot of time to really understand what my body does and what it needs. And I just really needed a good, hard, like cold turkey, boom. Like we're just diving into this extreme, what I felt like was extreme diet. Well, it's really not. It's just regular food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sad that I thought regular food was extreme, but that's what I did for the first 8 months to kill the cravings. I didn't have much sweet things at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you started slowly kind of adding in a few things here and there.
Yeah.
Did you
and
ever
if
find
anything
that
triggers me, I eliminate it still to this day.
That's
Even
what I was
now
gonna
that I'm
ask
eating
you.
some carbs, if
Yeah.
anything triggers a desire to eat more than what I decided I was going to eat, it's off the table. I don't eat it.
Yeah. What are some things that have caused triggered eating for you in the past?
Well, actually, I've been at it so slowly. I haven't had a lot of them. Even adding carbs back in, and I'm up to about 150 to 200. So I'm kind of in the low carb, Dr. Westman phase 3 range. And I've been able to eat a lot of things that I didn't think, even like I had a candy, like a piece of actual chocolate, real chocolate with sugar in it at Christmas, and it didn't trigger me.
Wow.
But I will tell you, the other day, my kids had some gluten-free Oreos, and I thought, I'm just going to take a little nibble. Oh, no.
No.
Never doing that again.
No.
Nope. All I could think about was Oreos for 2 days. I had to throw them away. I was like, yo, those are bad.
Yeah. So you had one
Oreos.
and then you were just like, it just caused a mental obsession for you.
Yeah, well, I just wanted them really bad. And I thought, wow, okay, that was what that felt like. No wonder that was really hard to ignore. Yeah, that's got to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you just have to really focus on your triggers. If anything makes you crave eating more than what you decided you're going to have. So if you decided you're going to have this portion of it and you eat that portion and you just want more, put it off for a little while longer and try it again later.
Yeah. What are some of the stumbling blocks you might have had in that 33-month period of weight loss? I know you said it was, you did some diet breaks and things like that. What are some stumbling blocks that you had in that time?
Just facing my demons is probably the number one most important. Why did I overeat in the first place? There's reasons. If you're obese, you have a reason. And most of the time we are justifying it based on our metabolism or insulin resistance, or we're just, something's wrong with us, but that's not necessarily always the case. I had to really face my actual triggers, emotional triggers, stress triggers, and find other ways to handle them and literally sever the connection between food and emotions. People give me a hard time for eating a lot of sweets. I eat a lot of sweet foods. I have a sweet tooth and I like it. But the difference between now and before is that I eat sweet food because it tastes good, and that's all.
Yeah.
I do not eat it because it makes me feel a certain way, and it doesn't anymore do anything for me. Literally nothing for me emotionally. I've severed it. And it just took a long time to go, okay, I'm feeling really depressed today. Why do I feel like I want to eat all of the sugar? What can I do instead? And I just found things that helped me to get through it. Sugar-free Jell-O. I know that's the weirdest thing, but it has been the saving grace because I'm an overeater and I like that feeling of fullness, and I hate vegetables and I'm not going to eat a giant salad. I will eat 3 Winky brand sugar-free Jell-Os right from Walmart, and they're like $3 for a whole pack. And I could just eat those and it would stop it. So if I got to the point where the binge was gonna happen, there was nothing I could do to stop it, then I would go to the Jell-O and I would eat as many as I needed to eat to avoid that happening, because they're 5 calories each.
Yeah.
So calories is actually what matters.
Yeah, I've heard you say that a lot on your channel. I mean, so much in keto and carnivore, there's so many people that I feel like they overkill it a little bit with calories don't matter, calories don't count. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle where I feel like you can shift your hormones and change your hormones. Yeah. And that's going to help you to not be as hungry and you'll eat a little bit less. But I still think that we in the carnivore and keto community really are like calories don't matter, just, it's not a thing. And then I see people, I'm sure you do too, that just can't lose the weight because they're listening to all of these people that are like, oh, you don't need to count calories. It's not a problem. It's not a thing. So yeah, it can definitely be a topic of controversy for sure.
Well, and I'm just glad that the group that I joined was a group that was protein focused and focused on macros and didn't really talk about calories, but their macros were set to extreme deficit. I had no idea. I didn't know anything about calories. I had no idea that eating 1286 calories was ridiculous, but that's what I did. I mean, like, I had no idea that what I was doing was considered to be, somewhat extreme, other than I thought it was very clean eating. And so I thought that's why I was losing weight. I had no idea it was the calories forever.
Yeah.
Makes me roll my eyes a little bit at myself. So like we all start somewhere.
Yeah. And did you experience, with having such a deficit like that from day one, like stalls? Because I've heard you talk about this before also, because I think some people can stall out if they start too low. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I didn't, because I really listened to my body. And because I was almost 400 pounds when I started, I was 374 when I started keto. I had a lot of body fat. And because I was fat adapted, my body got really, really great at switching back and forth between my little dietary fat and my body fat stores. And it burned through them really quick. But I'll tell you what, so it took about 18 months. And of course, on holidays, I would have a high fat day or a high calorie day. I didn't really know that it was a diet break or that it would help my metabolism. I knew nothing about that. I just knew that I was having a treat day because it was a holiday. But then about 18 months in, I got into Wonderland right at 18 months in. And the second I hit 199, I felt a wall go up in front of me by my body that was like, you cannot do this anymore. It is time to take a break. And I just listened to my body, and I started doing more lazy keto. And so I would take a few months of lazy keto, and then I would do a little cut, like 8 weeks. And I would do lazy keto again. And then I'd do like a 12-week cut over the summer. And then this last year is when I started really pushing into the reverse dieting aspect to try and figure out what actually my maintenance calories are and to encourage them to go up. And I actually have moved my resting metabolic rate from 1627, which is what it was in September, to 1800, which it was what it was last week.
Yeah,
so
I think
that's just sitting
huge.
here doing nothing.
That's huge, because I remember.
But that's because I built muscles.
Yeah, you have been working out with your chicken bucket workouts, and
that's so funny. Yeah.
You got to use what you can. I had I've talked with Robert Savage, not Robert Savage, Robert Sykes a ton of times.
Oh yeah.
Keto Savage. And when he first started working out, he used farm equipment to do his first bodybuilding show. He didn't even own any weights. He just used farm equipment to do his first bodybuilding show. And I'm like, we have so many excuses about why we can't work out. We can't do any resistance training. I have, people in my private groups that are like, I can't do that. And I'm like, girl, you need to go over to Tammy's channel. She is building muscles using a chicken bucket. Like, this is
well, and I said that myself.
Yeah.
I've said that multiple times. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I have no desire to do it. I didn't have any desire to do it.
Yeah.
So I lost almost all my weight without really doing a lot of that kind of stuff, which I think may is good, maybe good, maybe bad. I don't know. Like, I mean, you can't go, hindsight's 2020, right? You can't go back and on that extreme deficit, I don't know that me trying to build muscle would have done any good. I think it probably wouldn't have. And I didn't do cardio either. Just ate nothing.
And you had 9 children. That's cardio.
Well, people say that, but actually having 9 makes it so that you don't have to do as much. You just boss them. You just be like, so, hey, can you go get me that from downstairs? Like, I never got a thing for myself anymore because I have like all these runners. So
that's amazing.
But after I lost 100 pounds, it was my goal to start clogging, because my girls do competitive clogging dancing. It's kind of like somewhere in between Irish and tap. It's a little different, it's a little country western, and I wanted to do it. And they have an adult class, and I wanted to do it. So I told everybody in January that knew me in real life that I was going to lose 100 pounds in 9 months and start clogging that year in that August or September as it was coming around. And all my friends were like, okay, that's great. You could tell they did not believe me. They were like, no way she's doing that. Oh, I killed it. I killed it. I got that in 8 months. I got that 100 pounds. And my gift to myself was a pair of clogging shoes that were over $100. And I started class, and it was not easy. I looked like an idiot, and I posted it on Instagram. If you want to go to my Instagram and look back in the old posts, you'll see my funny dances where I would post me clogging back at 270, 260 pounds. And I did that, but only once a week. And now I'm really, really good at
it. Yeah. I guess it's Sundays. You'll post what you ate that week. And then you have a separate video that kind of shows your activity and,
and my weigh-ins.
And your weigh-ins. Yeah. Which you weigh, like, I haven't weighed myself in a while. I only really weigh myself at the doctor. That's what I'm saying. You and I do things so incredibly differently. Yeah. But for you, it works. You weigh yourself every day, right?
Well, yeah, and I've always done that, but I've been sharing it because I want people to see the scale fluctuations.
Yeah.
People are always like, oh no, I'm on keto for 2 weeks and I gained 1.5 pounds. And I'm like, oh no, darn. I'm like, yeah, dude, I could do that in like 2 hours. Like,
right.
Let me show you my week, how it starts low and it goes up like a big mountain and then it comes down. It's the weirdest thing. And I don't know why it does that. I honestly don't know. My exercise, it's like right after my exercise days, because my exercise days are Monday, Tuesday, it'll go up. And then as the weekend comes, it goes down. And I don't know if it has anything to do with that, but like overall, you can see that the average overall balances out.
Yep.
So that's the point of me doing it. It's for you guys.
Yeah.
Not for me.
Yeah, I'll let you do it.
I would be perfectly happy at this point to throw the reverse diet out the window, just eat intuitively and not weigh myself. But because I have YouTube, I have to keep putting a video out every week. And like, what else would I talk about? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's helpful for people to see those fluctuations and the up and down. And it's because I get these people, I do some private groups too, and people will freak out when they gain a few pounds. Like someone, freaked out recently because she gained like 2 pounds. And I was like, dude, like that could be,
it's just normal.
It's probably water weight. Like, just don't, like, I have to say the opposite extreme because I know I'll freak out like that. But I weighed at the doctor's office in October, and then I didn't weigh again till I went back to the doctor in January, and I was like 6 pounds lighter. I was like, okay, cool. So that's the only way that I usually keep track of my weight, is like how it is at the doctor's office, like. But that just, like I said, that just works better for me, because I feel like I'd be one of those people that would be like, Tammy, I gained 0.5 pound, or like you've had some crazy fluctuations, especially since you've done your reverse diet, which, because I watched you do your whole cut, and then you got down to like your lowest weight on the cut, and then you're like, okay, crap, I've been in this calorie deficit and I want to start eating more food. Like there were several things. I think it was like you got a DEXA scan, you were just hungry, you want to eat more food, but you had lost, what was it in that cut? Did you lose like 20 pounds or 25 pounds?
24 over the course of the summer, I think it was. Yeah. And I'm guessing at least 10 of that was probably water weight that I had put on over the break, the 9 months that I was trying to do basically high fat keto, and it was not working out.
Yeah.
It was not working out for me. I couldn't quite grasp the concept to stop drinking heavy cream.
I feel like high fat keto is so different in carnivore too. Like now that I'm sitting back and watching it a little bit, I feel like some people just, their satiety works different. I think there's probably genetic factors involved, but doing high fat keto for some people is like magic. They're in deep ketosis and it kind of blunts their hunger out. But for some people, they don't get that effect. And so they're eating such smaller portions of food. And it kind of can be like, I don't know if that's how it felt for you. It's just like smaller portions. And
I was just hungry.
Fat. Yeah, you're hungry. Yeah.
Because like I didn't understand hormones. So I didn't understand that when you're in a calorie deficit, your hunger hormone is kind of pushed down by your body. And then the second you get even like 50 calories more of extra food, immediately you're starving. And so the first time I did that, like I jumped to what I thought was going to be 2,000 calories from doing the cut and tried to do the high fat. And I couldn't stop eating the fat. Like I just was starving. Like no matter, it was just like going back to carbs again, or I just could eat and eat and eat and eat and never stop. And so it took me about 4 months to go, whoa. Okay, we got to get a handle on this. And then I pulled it back to about 2,200 calories, but I kept gaining weight and I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. And then I just went back to the cut because that's what I understood. And then I started studying more about the hormones and why that happens and being prepared for that. And then I started the reverse diet in order to control that.
Yeah.
If I knew I had to track my food and I could only eat this much, it didn't matter how hungry I was just going to have to find a way to muscle through. And that's what I did. And I did have a water weight fluctuation at the beginning. Like before I got to 1,500 calories, I gained like 10 pounds and I was like, what is happening? And that's actually when I added carbs in. Ironically, the carbs stopped that for some reason. And then I had another one just recently, this last week. I must have hit another threshold or done something, or hormonally something happened. But I had this last month, actually in February, I had a huge big spike again. But then I went in for the DEXA scan and they were like, yeah, you like have lost 8 pounds of fat and gained 10 pounds of muscle in the last 6 months. And I was like, heck yeah.
Yeah. Cause I remember when you got your DEXA scan at the end of your cut and you were
I was bummed.
You were discouraged after that one. Yeah. Cause they had said that your RMR
I had lost a bunch of lean mass and my RMR was better than I expected. Actually, it was 1627 and I thought it would be pretty low because I'd been doing the cut at 1,300 calories. So that was higher than I expected. But 1,800 is freaking awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm just like, yay. And when they handed me the DEXA scan paper, like I was in the middle of doing the breathing test and I had to hand it away because every time I would look at the numbers, I get choked up and want to cry because I was so happy.
Because you've worked really hard. I mean, on this reverse diet, like I think a lot of people, that's what I love about your story is you've been so consistent. I feel like a lot of people would do this reverse and you've had what Colin DeWay has been helping you a little bit as well with that and kind of encouraging you
here and there, like he's not coaching me or anything, but I watch all his videos and he like comments. So he'll be like, he'll give me advice if I comment on his videos is basically what it is. So.
Yeah. Gotcha.
He's just sweet as heck. I'm telling you, salt of the earth boy over there. And he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this about a reverse diet. It's really confusing. So
yes,
normally a reverse diet is to start at your maintenance and get your maintenance higher. That's like for bodybuilders who are wanting to do a bulking phase. They want to eat more food. I did a different kind of reverse diet. I don't even know what to call it. It's not really, it's kind of a reverse diet in that you add the calories a little bit at a time, but you're still in a calorie deficit for a very long time, which is why you don't put on a lot of body fat doing it. It's a way for me to control my eating still as I'm getting back up there. Maybe next time I will just go right to what I know is relative maintenance or close to maintenance in the future. But this time I decided I wanted to make sure that I did it slowly so that my mind thought I was getting more food. But in actuality, I was still in a diet.
Yeah.
For a really long time, I was still in a calorie deficit.
Yeah. What I have enjoyed watching is just like I said, the consistency of the whole thing. And then just that you have been so slow about this whole process, because I think what happens for a lot of people, and the other reason I wanted to bring you on is that I have so many people that will do a diet, you know, and a lot of people in my audience as well are into fasting, or they'll do a lot of fasting. And when you do calorie restriction for a period of time, your body does adjust, you know, when you do a lot of fasting, your body does adjust. And a lot of people have been at Bargain Basement for a really long time. And they're like, okay, you know, I need to maybe lose a little bit more weight, but they need to take that break time and they need to start eating a little bit more. And what I see happen a lot with people is that they just, like you did that first time you were talking about, where they just kind of add a bunch of food and then they end up gaining, you know, 20, 30 pounds. And then they get discouraged and they go back immediately into cutting. And then they realize their body their metabolism is not as efficient as it was when they had first started their whole dieting experience. So that's what I think is so valuable about
that's what
yours.
yo-yo dieting is. And so the difference
Yes.
between taking a diet break is a conscious choice to make sure that you're taking care of your metabolism.
Yes.
People are afraid to eat. I had
Yeah.
someone insult me today on my, I don't know if
YouTube.
watch this. On my YouTube, someone said, if I ate 2,100 calories, I would be fat. You should eat 1,600 calories if you want to lose weight. And then she went into what I'm feeding my daughters,
Oh,
which
geez.
you can just stay the heck out of that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, let's just like leave my babies out of this. Obviously, they have genetic issues like me, and you bet your bottom dollar I am teaching them about protein and calories and doing my utmost best. But they have anxiety and they tend to overeat and they sneak food if I try to restrict it. And there's only so many things a mother can do that won't damage their little daughter's abilities to do this in the future. So, but yeah, she said like, oh, you have to eat 1,600 calories. I'm like, well, you could eat 1,600. I said, if you did a reverse diet and got your metabolism up, you could eat 2,100 calories and not gain weight too. And you wouldn't be fat.
Exactly. That's the thing. We're so ingrained that you have to just eat this little small amount of food in order to maintain your weight. And now you're in a position, I know you want to get the weight loss surgery, but if you wanted to do a little mini cut, you wouldn't have to go down as low as you did when you did that cut the other time, or you could do it for a much shorter amount of time if you did.
Exactly. So I could get a better result. I could get a faster result. And then I don't have to be restricted for a very long period of time. People that are eating 1,200 calories for like 10 years.
Yes.
That's horrifying. Like, that's not real life. There's a reason 2,000 calories is the like average daily diet that people say is the average amount of food that an average person should eat. There's a reason 2,000 calories is that number. It's not 1,200. 1,200 is not the average.
Right. So take everybody through your process. So I know you got down to your cut, you had lost the 24, 25 pounds, and then you're like, okay, I remember when you were researching, you're like, I went on Jordan Science channel, I went on Robert Sykes channel, you were like looking all around, just trying to wrap your head around this. And then you found Colin DeWay and you're like, all right, I'm watching his videos and trying to figure this whole thing out. So what did what was it like? 30 calories a week, 50 calories. You were like very scientific and you have so much data for and it's been 6 months now. And you started like 1,200 or so. And now you're up to 1,300. And now you're at 2,100 calories a day. And your weight is like,
it's basically the same. I mean, it's a little higher, but like the DEXA scan said, a lot of that is because I put on muscle.
Yeah, by like 2 pounds. Like, I mean, you say a little higher, like we're talking about 2 pounds or so here that you were finished your cut out of that you are now. So I think that going from 1,300 up to 2,100 calories a day and like maybe a 2 pound difference and then gaining all that muscle, that's pretty freaking awesome.
I'm thrilled. I'm so happy. And it was actually Keto Cricket that got me onto this reverse diet thing. She kept telling me because she tried to help me the first time I was gaining all the weight. And I was kind of listening to her, but not really paying attention. And then this time she was like, you really should look into this reverse dieting thing. And I was like, her name's Tammy as well, ironically. And I was like, tell me where to look, Tammy. And she's like, well, you just got to research it. I'm like, okay. So she didn't tell me where to look. I just started looking, and Colin was the most easy to understand and made the most sense of how to use it for a person who'd been dieting and a person who wasn't like a bodybuilder. Most of the information I found was for people who do like cutting to get super lean. We're talking like, 2 to 5% body fat.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever do that. So it wasn't like that. But what I decided to do was I just decided it for myself. There was no like buddy that told me how much to do. I just decided if I gain weight, I will stay the same calories, but I will never go backwards. If I lose weight, I will raise my calories per day 50. So every single day is 50. And if I stay the same weight, I will raise it 25. And that was just like my guidepost the whole entire time. So if my weight went up, even if it was water weight, I held at those calories until it stabilized and went back down or was normal again. And then I would go forward and do it again. I did find that adding carbs in gave me another macro to play with, and carbs have fewer calories. And so it gave me a little bit more food bulk.
Yeah.
But I did notice that when you raise the carbs up, you have to lower the fats.
Mm.
And so it kind of sucks because I'll tell you what, carbs don't taste as good as fat.
Right.
I mean, everybody's like, ooh, carbs. I'm like, no, carbs are boring as
Well,
heck.
you're
Are you
not
kidding me?
sitting around eating cupcakes and donuts. Like you're eating,
I mean, unless they're keto.
right. You're eating like actual food, carbohydrates, like real food. That's why I
Like
feel
sweet
like,
potatoes, rice,
yeah,
potatoes. Yeah. I mean, I do eat Doritos occasionally. And people have given me a hard time about that. But you know what? I can eat 10 or 11 Doritos and not want to eat the whole bag. If I can do that, then it's not a trigger food. And if I'm doing that once a week, it's not going to hurt me. Like
yeah,
some people are really, really clean and I'm not. I never really have been. And I don't need to be. I don't have health issues that make me feel like I need to do that.
yeah. And like you
So,
said earlier with the trigger foods, like you had the gluten-free Oreos in your house and you're like, that's a trigger because you have one and then you're obsessed with it. So I feel like, we get in such black and white thinking. And my whole thing is like, I don't ever want to be dogmatic and say, this is never going to work and you can't do this. But for me, like, I know I couldn't do the Dorito thing at all. But if you can do that and it doesn't cause like a mental obsession and make you crazy and you're still able to stick within your goals for the day, like, cool, that works.
they literally do nothing for me. They're just like tasty food.
Yeah.
But a lot of food doesn't do anything for me. And that's one thing. I don't know if you guys remember on Keto Rewind a while back, Jess, she was working on her house and she decided something happened. I can't remember what it was, but she couldn't eat out of her fridge. I think something like a flood.
Oh yeah, they were working on their house. Yep, I remember.
She started eating like a lot of stuff, and she would eat more and more stuff.
She was eating out.
Yeah, because she thought that she was going to get that same high from it that she used to.
Yeah.
And she didn't. And so she kept eating more and more and more of it, trying to get that high. Yeah. Once you've severed that connection, it's gone. Like, I mean, of course, I'm sure you could earn it back if you tried real hard, but let's not go there.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell her, I'm like, that is actually a huge sign of positivity.
Yeah.
The fact that you can eat and it's just like underwhelming, that's a sign you actually succeeded in severing your emotions from food. And it's just, I just eat Doritos because they taste nice.
Yeah.
Literally, they do nothing for me. I mean, there's very few things on keto that are crispy. And so crispy things, are nice to have on occasion.
Yeah. And I feel like I've talked about it so much also on this channel, is like this addiction spectrum. There's like for some of us there's like this spectrum of like being an addict, being somebody who's either an alcohol addict, food addict. For me, I think it's all the same. But you on the addiction spectrum might be down here. I know I'm like down the street. Yeah. Like I just know myself at this point after years of like losing 100 pounds multiple times. And just, that's just how I know I am. So I'd like to just keep it easier. But everyone's not like me, and that's like the trap that we fall into, especially on the internet, is like, you assume that people are like you and they're not. Some people can eat, a little something and they can have a treat or they can have a dessert and it doesn't like ruin their whole plan. It doesn't just like take them down. But you have to know, we talk about being an abstainer versus a moderator. You have to know which one you are, and you really have to be clear on that, I think.
And I didn't know. I mean, I thought I had a food addiction. I was scared to death to eat carbs. I remember because I had someone that actually mentored me from the Protein Prioritized Dirty Keto Facebook group. So I'm also a moderator over there, and their moderator team is phenomenal. And they were the ones who went, you know what? You should probably eat some carbs. You're having all of these issues with keto.
You had a lot of water weight, right?
Yeah,
that was the big one.
I was having electrolyte problems. I still cannot. I have such a hard time with the electrolytes. I have to have so much more than other people. Even I've been doing 45 carbs this week because I'm doing this new product I'll tell you about it later, but
Oh
I'm doing
yeah.
this new product that's got me eating 45 carbs. And I woke up this morning, I literally felt like a truck ran me over. And I
Oh
took
yeah.
6 tablespoons of Sole water yesterday.
Yeah. The
And I was
electrolyte
so
thing is so
disappointed.
crazy. Like I've been doing hair tissue mineral analysis the last
Mhm.
9 months. And I've got like this nice little bald spot underneath my hair because I keep sending my hair in to upgraded formulas and having them analyzed to see. And that electrolyte thing I think has been the trickiest thing for me in the last couple of years. Like but it's amazing how getting that feedback from them. I did a consultation on Friday, and I owe everyone on my channel a video about this, but I did a consultation with them, and they were like, because I had kind of cut back on some of my electrolytes, and they were like, oh, well, you need to, they actually could tell you like where you are. I actually looked better this last time than I ever have in the last 2 years. I had some crazy hair mineral tests. I was like, oh crap. And I was having some crazy side effects like the swelling and the excess
Mhm.
urination and just like crazy stuff because I couldn't get it right. So that's my newest thing now is telling people like, if you are really having the trouble, either go get the hair tissue or maybe get off keto for a little bit, get off carnivore, which people, I never thought I would be saying that to people, but
Either.
seeing your experience, like when you added those carbs back in and let your body kind of come out of ketosis for a little while, it stopped all of that water weight whooshing and up and down with the electrolytes, right?
Most of it. I mean, obviously in February I had a little bit of a weirdness going on, but most
Yeah.
of the electrolytes I still have to supplement though.
Yeah.
So I had basically got cut down from taking so we're talking like 8 tablespoons of Sole water on
Oh,
top of
Lord.
salting foods and eating bacon. I'm like, it
See,
was
I do
like
like
16,000
one per
milligrams of
day.
sodium,
That's
like
crazy.
16,000. So
Yeah.
I thought that's got to be not okay. But on carbs, I can go down to 3 tablespoons a day,
Wow.
2 to 3. And
Still more
that's
than
where
I'm
I feel
doing with no carbs. That's
yeah.
crazy.
And then just this week, like I said, I've been doing 45 for the last 3 days, and I've been taking my same amount. And even yesterday, I added in more. So, like, I took 6, and I still woke up this morning. I was dizzy, had vertigo. I was like, ah, dang.
Yeah.
I was not happy. And I'm not even in ketosis.
Wow.
Oh, like
You might
the
be.
test on the thing is
Oh,
like a
you did the little,
ketone.
yeah.
Well, it's this. I don't know. I shouldn't probably not show it. It looks like this. You breathe
Yeah.
in.
Oh, the
And
lumen.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's not even putting me as fat burning.
Uh,
And I'm already falling over dead. And I'm like, oh, good grief. I don't think this lumen thing is going to work for me because it's never going to believe that I'm ever going to burn fat.
yeah, I thought about buying one of those and I was like, I have too many other freaking gadgets. I have a CGM sitting in a box in my room that I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put it on soon. And then I've just been like, I've been too stressed out to put on a CGM because that's the other thing people don't realize. If you have stress, like that's going to skew all your numbers and your electrolytes and everything too. It's
I
like,
know.
it's
And we can't not ever have stress. And
right.
so we have to just find ways to handle stressful situations that don't involve food and hopefully get us out of it quicker so that we don't have cortisol stress and hormone issues. And we're in the middle of a freaking pandemic. Like, oh, it's a miracle any of us are living through this.
Yeah.
And some people reacted to the pandemic by eating everything in sight and saying, screw it. I reacted to the pandemic by saying, I'm going on a cut because I can control this. It was
Yeah.
like the only thing that I could control. And so it made me feel more less stressful, less stressed out by the pandemic, knowing I could control my food, using it as being home as an opportunity. I'm like, I can't eat out. I can't be busy. I'm literally sitting at home. This is the perfect time to do this because I can make all of my food at home and be totally scientific about it. And now I'm heading into busy season, so wish me luck. Our first
Yeah.
competition is in 3 days. And I will tell you this embarrassing thing. My 5-year-old is to do a little solo, and I have yet to teach it to him.
Oh.
I asked him this morning, so dude, do you think you can learn a whole clogging dance and perform it on Friday? 3 days? And he just goes, what would I do in it? Like,
Oh.
I told him some of the steps and he goes, I know all those. And I'm like, okay, we're just going to do it. Even if he stands there and jumps around, nobody's going to care.
Oh
It's
goodness.
lucky. As long as you
Oh.
jump, he's 5.
Yeah.
But that's how busy like my life is that I just have, he's been on the back burner. And I'm like, oh, I signed him up for that. Whoops.
Oh man. Poor thing. I
Yeah.
think something happened with your sound. I don't know. It just kind of went
Oh,
out a little bit.
Probably is my internet. Sometimes it does that. Am I still there?
Yeah, it's a little bit better now. It's like a weird echo, and people in the comments are like, Tammy's sound. I don't know. It's weird.
Cell phone.
Yeah.
I don't know like where the microphone is to like try and do anything with it. I don't even know where the microphone is on this thing.
Don't worry too much about it.
Maybe I touched it.
There it goes.
I think I touched it and we did something. Now I just whacked it a couple times.
We're back. Okay. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, that's why live streams are so much fun.
They are. You never know what's going to happen or who's going to show up. You just don't. The one thing I wanted to talk to you about, I know we're almost at an hour here, but I did want to talk to you about how you do a higher protein version of keto. And well, you don't really do the keto anymore, but you still do super high protein. And if you could talk a little bit about how that has been a benefit for you as well, because my protein's probably half of what yours is.
Well, I know a lot of people are worried about having too much protein, and unless you're diabetic or you're really, really insulin, insensitive or whatever, that if you're just in it for weight loss, the ideal way to do it is to get your calories lower. Mm-hmm. And protein has a higher thermic effect of food. It literally burns calories while it's being digested, so you get more bang for your buck. It fills you up. So if you're a person like me who's a chronic overeater, it fills up your stomach better and it keeps you fuller longer, which makes you eat less food. And also, if you've got body fat, if you're fat adapted and you're doing keto, if you're eating too much dietary fat, you're just never going to tap into that body fat store, which is, if you're doing it for weight loss, the point. If you're not doing it for weight loss, if you're doing it for fixing hormones or for epilepsy or other things like that, obviously that's a totally different situation. But the people that I'm working with are like obese people. They have lots of fat to burn. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is to consume less dietary fat in order to tap into the body fat stores a little bit more fluidly and just use them up and get it out of there, right? That's the idea. So that's kind of why I follow it. I'm definitely a follower of Lane Norton, which he's not anti-keto, but he doesn't really think it's that awesome.
Like he's I think he's so anti like the people that say stuff like calories don't matter and like it's all hormones and like, because I follow Lane also, and I'm like, I've wanted to reach out to him before and be like, hey, I'd love to chat with you about this because he calls out BS, and I appreciate that, even though a lot of the times he's calling out my friends, like he's actually called out people who are friends of mine who are on YouTube or on,
and that's painful. I'm sure. I'm sure because he's definitely not nice.
No, he's not nice. And I feel bad for them. But then I'm like, when my friend had posted whatever, I'm like looking at it like that's really kind of misleading. And yeah, like it's almost like if you get your account to a certain place, if you're keto or carnivore, you're already going to be on his radar. And if you're talking some kind of crap or like trying to pull the wool over people's eyes to prove a point or cherry pick a study, he's going to call it out. And
I appreciate that he does look at all the studies and he can point out how people are using it wrong.
Yeah.
And I know nothing. Like I'm just a mom. I'm not no science person. I can't even like understand half the stuff Dr. Finney talks about. Yeah. And I follow Dr. Finney, and his blog, vertahealth.com, is where I get all the information that I share with people. If he wrote about it, I talked about it. Also, Dr. Westman and Amy Berger. Amy Berger did this article that I went over on my channel. There's a video about protein, about gluconeogenesis and how it works and why it raises the blood sugar. Yeah. It's actually not the protein. It's because the body is digesting the protein and the body needs stuff to burn to do certain other things. And it takes that glycogen that's stored in the liver because we still have some because we still need it. Mm-hmm. And it puts it into this bloodstream. She's like, it doesn't happen that fast. So it cannot be.
It's a really slow process. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she makes it more clear that way. I think in the keto community, and I don't know about the carnivore. Obviously, you guys eat a lot more meat than the basic keto
high
community.
Protein. Yeah. I do it a little different.
People are afraid of it.
Yeah, they are.
People have been taught to be afraid of it. And so I'm forever arguing with people and trying to convince them they're going to be safe and nothing bad is going to happen to them if they eat, more than 100 grams of protein.
Yeah.
And me, I just know if I focus on protein, it's just less likely to be put into body fat and it's less likely to cause me issues with weight gain. And I know Ted Naiman is a new one that's been talking a lot about like the protein energy diet. And he says we should get 40% of our daily intake from protein and the rest from energy. He's a keto advocate, so he says it should be mostly from fats, but you can split them and it's the same concept. And he's not the first one to say that.
No,
He's not the
no,
first one to say that.
no.
Ratio is a pretty common amongst like, having a well-balanced diet, 40% protein, and then splitting the other two among. So that's what I've been doing, which is why my protein gets higher and higher, the higher my calories go. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like there's some days I'm hitting over 200 and I'm like, okay, maybe that's a little bit too much, but man, I just love my protein.
Yeah. Yeah, for me,
So
it's
good.
been weird. I think because I've had some insulin resistance in my past. And so I've had to be a little bit more careful with the protein. But when I used to do back in my 30s, when I could do a lot more stuff with my diet, I did kind of like high carb, high protein, and I used it to build muscle. Like, and I didn't have any problems with it at all. So I feel like we're just all still, and that's the other reason I want to bring you on is like, we're all still really learning. And I'm talking to actually Amy on Monday, Amy Berger. She and I are going to
Oh,
have
yay.
we're going to have a chat and I'm going to put it on my podcast. It'll go on YouTube. We're not going to do a live, but we're going to do an actual like podcast. Cause I just like the thing that I love about what she says is like keto without the crazy. And
Yeah,
I've fallen into the trap and I still do. Like I still love testing and I love data. I love
me
all that
too.
stuff. It's fun. But I think it can, people that are, like you were 374 pounds, they look at that and they're like, I'll never be able to do that. Like if you had looked at yourself now, years ago, you probably would have been like, just don't even
I
bother.
agree.
Yeah, I want to go to the convenience store and get my snacks. Like this is not, something I ever want to do. But you've evolved to this spot. Like it's taken you years to
Right.
get where you are now. Yeah.
Exactly.
And you didn't do all this stuff when you were losing the weight initially. Like you kept it so simple. You didn't even check ketones or any of that
Yeah,
stuff.
I only followed macros, not calories, and I just hit my protein number every day, kept my fats below my fat limit, and kept my carbs below my carb limit. And that's the only thing I focused on. I did track to make sure that I was doing that, but that's the only thing I did. And I know Amy talks about not tracking, so does Dr. Westman, and that works too. But I don't know that it would have worked for me because I'm a
Yeah.
chronic overeater. And like I said, I can eat my protein. I would have been like, ribeye steaks are fine. I'll eat 3 of those a day.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. That's why I think women gain weight on carnivore sometimes is because it is number one, I think it's sometimes harder if that's the only thing that you're eating. And then two, you're a volume addict. You like to have that really big full feeling. And so I
I
think
still
that,
do. Even after all
yeah.
this time, I still like that. I grew up like that, I guess. And I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one more question before we go off the live stream. Someone asked in the chat, and I think it's a good question. I think it's something that I'm looking at myself. Do you think people should do keto forever? Do you think it's healthy to do keto forever? What are your thoughts on
Absolutely.
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
If that's what makes you feel the best, then you should do whatever makes you feel the best. I believed fully when I first started this because of how great I felt for the first time in years. I felt like it was like, someone who keeps hearing voices in their heads
Mm-hmm.
and then one day they stop talking and you can like hear. It was that way for me. And I was so crazy with my starving and my whatever is wrong with me. And all of a sudden it was just like, and
Yeah.
so I really thought that I would never, ever, ever change and that I would be keto forever. And it's definitely sustainable. There's many people in the keto space, including Dr. Finney himself, who have been keto for years, Dr. Ben Bickman. Like there are so many of them setting a great example on how to do it well and to do it for a very long amount of time. And it can be very sustainable. If it wasn't for the flippity flap and electrolyte issue with me, I probably would have stayed.
Yeah.
I just can't. I think there must be something wrong with my sodium absorption things, because like I said before in my own live streams, when I was a kid, I would crave salt and I would like pour it on ice and eat like ice with salt on it. Like it was obviously, I think I have some kind of, maybe it's adrenal issues. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say adrenals. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know, but I just need a lot of it. And I have a friend who was bedridden for probably about 8 years with total fatigue. And she asked me about keto, and I said to her, this is the hardest part, the electrolytes. If you can get past this, you can do keto. And she only heard the part about the electrolytes and started doing Soleil water. And the next time I saw her was like a couple weeks later, and she just walked in, and she's not a huggy, kissy person or anything. She's not an emotional person. She walked up to me and she put her arms around me and she just cried and she just said, thank you. She's like, for the first time in my life, I can get out of bed. I feel like a normal person. I can drive my kids to their things. She's like, I can do stuff. And she has to drink cups of Soleil water a day to feel normal.
Yeah.
But she's normal now.
Yeah.
Like, and she's not even eating keto.
Yeah.
She just obviously she has some sort of thing where her body's not getting the sodium it needs. And so I basically saved her life by telling her this one little thing. And I was like, oh. So I wonder if I'm like somewhere in between. Yeah. Because a lot of people are like, you eat a lot of salt. I'm like, I know.
Well, it's so different. That's why I'm such a big proponent of these hair tissue mineral tests, because even they're not just keto or carnivore or low carb. They're for everybody. And you know, after talking with them, I interviewed the owner. That's going to be in my podcast next week. Like, and doing my own experiments with it. It's fascinating how when you get your minerals where they're supposed to be, then you feel so much better. I mean, it's just amazing. And it's just the sodium, potassium, and magnesium, calcium, getting those things balanced out. I mean, it just makes such a huge difference for people. And you don't even have to be doing keto or carnivore. But if we're low on those minerals, it's a nightmare. So and
on keto, I just get too low, I think.
Yeah. That, you know, people have given Dr. Paul Saladino a lot of crap about adding in honey and some different things, but that was one of the things that he said, is that he could not hold on to his minerals. And it's like, oh, we're just going to throw that under the rug. But I think it's a real thing. And that would, you know, that's one of my hesitations with people doing it long term, is like, if they're having mineral problems, they may need to go back and rebalance a little bit too.
And you may not have to go that high. Like me, I felt really crappy until I hit about 150. And then I was like, okay, this is my happy place. And like I said, this week I've gone back to 45 and I was like, nope, this sucks. I don't know if I'm doing this very long, Lumen. I don't know if I care about metabolic flexibility that much. But I'm going to do a video about it.
Well, I think it's like, we just have to not overhype things. Like I get in the rabbit hole too. Like I've had people on my podcast recently and I staunchly disagree, to the point where I'm like holding the episode. I'm like, I'm going to wait a couple more weeks before I put this one out. But, you know, they're talking all about metabolic flexibility. And I had one lady disagree with me about food addiction. And she's like, there's no such thing as food addiction. And I was just like, oh God, please don't go down
this rabbit hole.
Went in this whole tirade about there's no such thing as food addiction and people should be able to eat these food. And I was like, oh God, this is not, I'm like, but you know, like
if that was true, then why did the Oreos still set me off?
Right. Yeah. There's, like I said, nuance.
There's obviously something to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone has a question about Soleil water. If you go to Tammy's channel and you type in Soleil water, it's S-O-L-E.
If you just type Soleil water, it's S-O-L-E. Mm-hmm. And I think my video is now the first one that comes up on the search.
Yeah, I keep it in my kitchen too. Like I do the Soleil water in the tablespoon every morning and then salt the rest of the day. And that's enough for me. But it's different for everyone. Everyone's like, well, how much do I do? I'm like, I don't know. Like I
have so many videos on that. Plus on my Facebook group, if you join, everyone's always talking about that. So yeah, but it's 5,000 milligrams of sodium a day minimum, 1,000 to 3,500 potassium, and about 300 to 700 magnesium a day that you should be supplementing to avoid this issue. But me, I have like doubled that, and still not enough.
We're all so different. Yeah. And the tissue test, they'll tell you like your adrenals need some support. Like they can tell you from that test of like
I'll
what's
definitely have to look
going
into
on.
that for sure. I'll
Yeah,
have to
I'll
watch
send
your
you the
video
link.
with them.
It's
And I've
it's
seen
so
I've
fascinating.
seen your videos on them. So I've been curious. I'll have to watch your video and see if I can make that happen in the near future.
Yeah, yeah, I'll definitely send you that. It's really interesting just to figure that out about yourself because you may just be somebody who just needs more, and it could be adrenal, it could be something else going on, but it's a consideration for sure. So cool. Well, I have your links and everything below this video in the information section. So if people want to go to Tammy's channel, subscribe if you haven't already. And then what's any other way if people want to get in touch with you or
Instagram.
yeah,
I'm Keto Chaos on Instagram. I have a Facebook page. That's just where I post about myself or what I'm eating. And then I also have a Facebook group where I help coach people. I'm on there every day. I don't answer every single question, but I have a moderator team that helps me. And it's also the group Keto Chaos on Facebook.
very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you, Tammy. This has been so much fun. And it's just great to have somebody on who, like I said, we do things differently, but I get so much inspiration just from watching you, watching your videos, your consistency, and just your spirit really shines through your videos. Just like I love it. So thank you for sharing with all of us.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you having me. And I think it's awesome that we can be friends and disagree on a lot of things. I think that's just proof. It's something people need to see that there's no
Definitely.
one way to live life. We
Yes.
all have different ways of eating. We have different ways of doing, and that we're all valid and awesome human beings who deserve to be heard. I love it.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, thanks again. And
All
thanks
right.
guys for
Thank
tuning
you.
in. Bye.